hearing.
Okay, we are on, is there any old business?
No old business.
All business. Information items, committee or organization reports. Mrs. Shaw.
On May 27th, I had the pleasure of attending the Garden State Coalition of Schools 24th annual meeting. Also in attendance from East Brunswick, who always gets a whole table there, Mr. McAvoy, Dr. Ogden, Dr. Valesky, Mrs. Lax, and me.
And me.
All right. Anyway,
And me.
I'm sorry, Dr.
forgot
Cohen.
me.
See, you were so short over there.
Oh!
HIB.
No, my
HIV.
apologies. Seriously, my apologies, Dr. Cohen. Because I actually sat next to him. Sorry about that. It's getting a little late. I'm sorry. But anyway, Commissioner of Education David Hespy was the main speaker there. He reviewed a number of the issues that are current in the state of New Jersey. He had some very nice things to say about the Garden State being in the game and always there to advocate for quality education, and not just among suburban districts, but for all students in the state of New Jersey. Some of the other topics that he mentioned were the credibility gap, talking about the number of students who graduate from high school and yet still require remedial courses when they begin to attend college. He talked about the PARCC test. He talked about teacher evaluation. He also talked about some likely concessions that can be made to high-performing districts. And of course, we also addressed the issue of school funding as well as the teacher's pension program. Obviously, of course, no decisions were made on most of those important areas. We also heard from Assemblyman Gary Shar. Declan O'Scanlan had also been invited, but he had a little mix-up with his calendar, so unfortunately, we did not get to hear from him. Michael Aaron, who is the chief political correspondent for NJTV, was there, as well as John Mooney, an education writer and founder of New Jersey Spotlight. So it's always interesting to hear the, quote-unquote politicians discuss the issues in education, and then to hear the journalists' take on the entire situation. So very interesting. The following day, also as part of my responsibilities as the East Brunswick liaison to the Garden State Coalition of Schools, I was invited to attend Burlington County College to hear Governor Christie make his statements regarding the Common Core in the state of New Jersey. Everybody in the audience was just kind of left with it like, what did he just say? New Jersey has been a state that has had high standards and core standards for education for probably about 20 years. So certainly we will continue to build on that framework for the success of our students. I think the most surprising part of the whole thing was that he would like to continue to have our students take the PARCC exam, even though they are actually so closely associated with the Common Core. So anyway, during the last week, taking a look at things in the newspaper, listening to other journalists make remarks about it, they seem to think that schools in New Jersey should just kind of stay the course, and we will continue to work on improving the education of our students, not only here in East Brunswick, but I'm sure statewide. Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, I'm so sorry, Dr. Cohen.
That's okay. So are we keeping the Common Core?
Well, we are going to be keeping the Common Core until something new replaces it. And my understanding is that Commissioner Hespy said that it would certainly take some time to get this so-called task force in place, so that until something new or a new review has actually been accomplished, that we would continue with the standards that we currently have in place.
Yeah, the governor actually indicated, I think, in his speech about establishing New Jersey standards
Yes.
and establishing a committee to do that. But
There already was one that worked on those
Right,
Common
right.
Core standards.
And East Brunswick, I believe, has already done such significant work aligning their curriculum with what the Common Core was about, a standard bank of assessments and the ability to analyze the data from multiple measures throughout the student's career. So I think we're well ahead of the curve on that, and I think that we'll just sit back and wait and see what the new standard is going to be, but I don't think it's going to come out much different than what the Common Core is.
I don't think so either. And it's not that, I don't mean to make light or to make fun of the governor, but because I do agree that reflecting on what we are doing is always an important thing for educators to do. So it isn't as though, I think the sun rises and sets in the Common Core, but I just think that it seemed to have a political motivation, and that's really about all I think that can be said at this point in time.
Mrs. Becker?
When the Common Core was adopted and districts were asked to align the curriculum, there was a certain financial investment we had to make. I mean, even if it was buying new textbooks. But Bernie, I don't expect you to have this number off the top of your head, but we did spend money as a district in order to fully integrate the Common Core into our curriculum.
We replaced textbooks as time went on, so
And
yes.
textbooks are expensive.
Right.
Yes,
But
they
we
are.
would have done that
the
anyway, so
integration.
that didn't, and the computers that we bought and the Chromebooks are things that was part of our IT investment
Oh.
anyway.
I just think that before people change things, they need to consider districts having to jump through hoops, and what hoops we have to jump through every time a new mandate comes through, particularly if it involves any kind of a financial commitment.
But I think,
That's-
I think in this case, with a high degree of predictability, I anticipate that all of the investment that the district has made to date will continue to show gains. We
That-
will not lose any of the investment that you have already committed to make.
That's great, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't have made it, and that
Right.
I'm just saying that before the powers of be change things again, they need to, I think, be a little more cognizant of what districts have to go through to adopt new models. That's all. Not, the onus isn't on us, the onus is on them, I believe.
Mrs. Lax?
We had just a quick update with community programs. We met on the 11th. I'll give you a couple of highlights because it's late. Our early morning program and our ASK programs are doing phenomenally well. More kids are in them this year, significantly more this year than last year. Also, our occasional use is up. And one thing we talked about in the committee meeting was digitalizing the occasional use booklets, which I think would be really great for the parents, because we've had some issues where a kid comes in with a coupon, they lose the coupon. So they're making great strides towards digitalization of that, which would be great for the parents. The early registration incentive was very successful as well. There was an incentive for parents that registered for next year by June 1st. We did incredibly well. We actually have currently, for our ELA, 110 students were in this year. 102 have already, at this point, put in for next year. A couple of things that came up was staggering the start times for ELA and also looking into a building for them. The ELA camp, which is something new for the summer, they've already got over 16 kids confirmed. That's going to be our Early Learning Academy camp. If more students come in, they'll be able to offer additional sections, but at least we'll have that. And then something exciting, for any of the schools that have had young audiences, they've done the assemblies in a lot of the different schools. They're actually going to do workshops free of cost to our ASK students this coming year, which will be really nice. They'll do different programs throughout the different schools. They were also given special education update. They're working closely with community programs to ensure early intervention. and proper support in place for the kindergartners that may need additional help transitioning. Also, another nice thing is when you're talking about inclusion and acceptance at a young age, it's nice our students are seeing these children, and that works really well. I've noticed it at the lower levels. I'm sure Michelle has seen it at the high school. But it's a very nice thing now for these students that they feel they're mainstreamed and they feel more accepted and part of the schools. And then lastly, my favorite part of the year, the ESL and our new citizenship graduation.
Mhm.
Any of you ever have the opportunity to go? It's a beautiful ceremony. Actually, a couple of years ago, we had some of the students come and read some of their speeches, and I would love to request that we do it again. It's beautiful. Ms. Adrian does a terrific job with these people. They're so proud and they're so thankful. And if we can work on getting some of them in, and you can hear some of the speeches that Mr. Figueroa and I, and actually, Dr. Lester wasn't there, I'm sorry. Mr. Figueroa and I heard, it's beautiful. And I think the board would really appreciate it.
It is nice. No other committee reports tonight? Okay. We do have any, go to the